I am so excited for yet another epic conversation on the Life at Full Blast podcast. I have my new friend, Alicia Cramer, with me today. She is an internationally renowned hypnotherapist and business mindset coach known as the go-to expert for entrepreneurs. And I'm super excited to have this conversation because I have tried hypnotherapy in the past and didn't get much out of it. So I want to play with that conversation because I felt like I was missing something. So welcome to the show, Alicia. I'm glad that you're here today.
I'm looking forward to getting into this because there are so many people who have so many misconceptions about
Mhm.
what hypnosis is supposed to be like. We're gonna, I mean, we can go there. We can go down the rabbit hole as deep as you want to go because hypnosis has so much value. It can
Mhm.
be transformational. But when you're tripping over some of those limiting beliefs or those misunderstandings, you don't oftentimes give it a really honest opportunity to help you change some of your deep subconscious programs.
I love that. I love that. Well, we're definitely going to talk about that. Also, I've experienced a hypnotist in the bar, so it was different.
Okay, I don't recommend finding your hypnotist at the bar for anyone listening. There are
You
usually
shouldn't be
better
looking for anything
sources.
at the bar, to be honest with you. Oh my gosh. Well, Alicia, let's start a little bit from the beginning. How did you get into hypnotherapy and supporting entrepreneurs? What brought you here?
Okay. It is a very long journey, so I'm going to do my best to kind of, we'll do the timeline
Sure.
approach to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like the majority of people, I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. So,
Mm.
just for a frame of reference, um, my biological father almost killed me when I was an infant.
Oh my
My
God.
mother then dated a biker who held a gun to her head in front of me when I was 3 years old. It was a recipe for disaster.
Hmm.
Now, that being said, really, I'm pretty proud of myself. Aside from suicidal depression, which I struggled with, and alcoholism in my teens, I mostly was functioning okay.
Hmm.
That being said, my first experience with hypnosis, I was in elementary school and I was
Mm.
going to the guidance counselor because clearly, I wasn't happy and things were scary and not so great at home. And my guidance counselor gave me a cassette tape. It
Hmm.
was hypnosis for children from alcoholic homes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I listened to it over and over and over again. Now, here's the fascinating thing.
Mhm.
Not only did it help me to relax, but around this time, I don't remember the exact age. I mean, maybe it was in elementary school. I think it might have been more like fifth grade-ish. Um, at that point, my mom was with a dairy farmer, and I would have to go out and I would have to do farm chores. And I remember
Mm.
climbing up into the haymow so stressed out, so upset, and doing self hypnosis as a little
Mm.
girl to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
Now, I sort of lost all of that. You go through your teens and then, you're just living life and,
Life. Yeah.
you know, and so hypnosis did not re-enter my life until I was in my 20s and I
Hmm.
listened to some stuff. I got into, I was going to be an entrepreneur. And
Yep.
so I listened to a little bit of, some hypnosis to be successful and stuff like that. And I mean, there was a lot more work than any single, hypnosis audio session was going to do for me. So that didn't really, gain a whole lot of traction until I
Mm.
was 25. I was out with some girlfriends. I was assaulted. And
Mm.
when I came to, I had been physically and sexually assaulted and I had post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. And I was a mess. I couldn't even function. So I realized I had two choices. If I continued on that trajectory, I was pretty much screwed. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a complete disruption of my quality of life. I was in a
Hmm.
perpetual state of anxiety. I couldn't sleep. It was terrible. And so I decided the other option was to find a cure. And I was not going to turn to medication. I was not going to self-medicate. I'd already been very into fitness and nutrition. I had managed a vitamin store. So I was really into like the natural side of things. I even had studied with a naturopathic healer for a while when I was
Hmm.
18. So I was like, no way doing the medication thing. I didn't believe in it. It just didn't resonate with me. That meant I had to figure something else out. And
Yeah.
so I started researching alternative therapies. And I booked sessions with everyone that I could on my very limited budget. And one of them was a hypnotherapist.
Hmm.
When I had that session, what ended up happening was insomnia that I had since I was a little girl because of all the stress and, the dysfunctional situation, just like that, gone. I
Wow.
slept for the first time
Well,
like
that's gotta
a
feel good.
baby. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And so that reintroduced me, and that and other modalities, a lot of other modalities, energy work, EFT, all sorts of stuff, really went on a deep spiritual healing journey. Then I knew I wanted to help other people because, like,
Mm.
if I can help me, like
Yeah.
anybody can be helped. And
Yeah.
it sounds so cliche because everybody says it, but once you start this journey, you know how true it really is.
Yeah.
We're all helpable for the most part.
Hmm.
And so that's what launched the very, very beginning, earliest stages of my business back in 2006. I actually became an EFT practitioner. And then shortly
Hmm.
after that, I got my certification as a hypnotherapist, opened a brick and mortar hypnotherapy practice, and it really just evolved from there. And
Yeah.
then the whole entrepreneur piece is because I was an aspiring entrepreneur since I was 18
Hmm.
years old. And so when I had business owners coming into my hypnotherapy practice for quitting smoking and weight loss and fear of public speaking and fear of flying and all the stuff, those were the people I was the most excited to work with. It didn't matter what we were working on. There was something about them and their mindset and their drive that really resonated with me. And
Yeah.
that's when I started to transition and I went to doing both online sessions, working with people internationally, as well as in my private practice. And that's when I started to introduce coaching and hypnotherapy as this sort of hybrid modality that incorporated the energy side of things and EFT and all of the different ways that we could more holistically help people get out of whatever was causing them to be stuck.
Mm. I love that so much from a cassette tape too. There's probably some of our audience that don't know what that is. So I love it. I love it. One of the things that stands out to me about your story is, I mean, there's not a human being on the planet who hasn't gone through some sort of trauma. And some of that is severe trauma, some of it's less severe, but it's all trauma. And, I see a lot of people in today's society who kind of hold on to that trauma and keep that as a reason for why they can't have what they want. And what you've demonstrated through your story is that you can move beyond your trauma, that you don't have to live with that and you don't have to make that an excuse anymore.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Just real short story. Quite a
Hmm.
few years ago, I was an expert on a TV show. It was called Living Consciously, and then it changed to like The Conscious View or something like that. In any
Hmm.
case, there was a whole bunch of us that were all different types of experts in sort of the realm of healing and helping and stuff like that. And was in Denver, Colorado, and the whole cast were all sitting together at the dinner table after recording. I think it was like the first episode, and everybody's kind of talking about some different stuff. And somehow that all came out. And one of my colleagues was a licensed therapist,
Hmm.
psychologist, I believe. And when she was talking about her past, it was very evident that she had
Hmm.
not let go of her trauma. And our
Yeah.
producer looked at her And he pointed at me because of something that I had said, right? Just
Mm.
as we were having this whole discussion. And he pointed out to her, see, this is what it looks like when you really let it go.
Yeah.
And there's so much value in that. It doesn't make what someone did to us okay. It means
No.
we rise above it and we
Yeah.
become empowered in spite of it.
Yes. Yes. I love that so much. That's one of the things that I've always said is if you can learn to look back on what happened to you, we'll say to you for now because I'm going to get there, but you look back on that with gratitude because you understand that it happened for you. And that might seem crazy and really out there, but I know for me, an abuse survivor, ex-cocaine addict, losing my father at 16, I look back at those moments in my life and say thank you because it made me who I am today. Yeah. It
Yes.
builds resiliency and strength
Yes.
and grit and courage and all those other pieces that we need to be successful in our lives.
It is so true.
Yeah.
And most people who have gotten to the other side of it, meaning they're not carrying it with them like this
Mhm.
open gushing wound anymore.
Yes.
They're able to look back in retrospect, in hindsight, and say, I'm so grateful that that happened.
Yeah.
For me, I say it was a catalyst. It was a turning point. It was
Hmm.
it was what I needed to pull my head out of my ass and change my life because
Yeah.
the direction that I was going was not good. And the
Yeah.
direction that it took me, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, I have goosebumps as you're talking about this. Yes, you are speaking my language for sure. I love it. So let's dig into hypnotherapy a little bit because I made a joke at the beginning of the show. So I have experienced hypnotherapy at the bar, which we have decided we don't do that. But I have experienced hypnotherapy through a couple of different practitioners. And my biggest issue was I didn't trust those practitioners. And so going into hypnosis in the first place was very difficult for me because I was fighting it tooth and nail. Like, what are you going to say when I'm out? Right? What are you going to program into my brain? So, can you speak to that a little bit of like, how can we trust a hypnotherapist more? And how do we work with that?
Yeah. So one of the common misconceptions is that the hypnotherapist has some kind of mind control power over you.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't realize is no one can hypnotize another person against their will, period.
Mhm.
Now, when you see people who appear to be going like into that deep state or doing the crazy outlandish stuff, what a lot of
Violent.
times you don't realize is there's ways to test to see if the person is susceptible and suggestible to that type
Mhm.
of behavior. The mass majority of us are not. Now, the other
Mhm.
thing is, even if you do trust your hypnotist or your hypnotherapist, and they give you a suggestion that happens to contradict your core values, your subconscious mind will discard that.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. Now, your ability, though, to feel safe and to relax, and that's why they say you need to work with a coach or a mentor or a therapist who you have rapport with, because
Yeah.
it is so important to feel safe. When you're on guard, you're in a state of resistance. When you're in a state of resistance, you're not in a heightened state of suggestibility. So the
Right.
whole purpose of hypnosis is to use our understanding of how to create the ideal state. That's all it
Mhm.
is. It's a natural occurring state that we go in and out of every single day. People are
Mhm.
hypnotized when they're sucked into a movie.
Yeah.
People are hypnotized when they lose themselves emotionally to music. People are hypnotized
Mhm.
when they go into a state of rage and they're triggered. People are hypnotized if they go to the doctor and they're all scared about
Mhm.
what the diagnosis is going to come back at. And the man who has this bigger than life image in our subconscious mind as being the expert who knows
Right.
so much better about us than we do. What happens
Bullshit.
is you're sitting there shaken in your shoes. You're in a heightened state of suggestibility. And if he says something or she says something that
Mhm.
whether it's true or not, we know this from research, bam, goes anchored right into the subconscious mind. And that's why we see sometimes people, they'll be dead 6 months after a diagnosis, and upon autopsy, oh shit, it was a misdiagnosis. How does
Right. Placebo effect, basically. Yeah.
exactly. The
Yeah.
mind is very powerful. And so, what we need to remember is if you're going to a hypnotherapist, they've been trained, hopefully. Not everyone is trained equally. There are courses you can take on Udemy,
Right.
right? To become a hypnotist. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but let's just say they went to a reputable institute. Like I got my certification from the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. They're a nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy. Let's
Hmm.
just say that they're trained in the modality and they understand the nuances
Hmm.
and they understand how important it is to make sure that they're languaging things appropriately and that they're not leading the client to believe that they might have been assaulted, and it's repressed or something like that. Most professionals, they're going to help you, excuse me, not endanger you, right? So,
Hmm.
what they're looking for here is how can I guide you to shift whatever your old limiting belief is, heal and
Hmm.
release whatever trauma you're still holding on to, change
Hmm.
your dysfunctional self-image to a more empowered self-image. And they're guiding you in ways that are, for the most part, categorically going to be safe and beneficial for you.
Right.
Now, one
Yeah.
other thing, and I don't want to ramble on too far here,
No,
but
this is
one other
great.
thing I do want to say, um, I just put out an article about this yesterday at time of
Hmm.
recording. We all process information differently. So for
Hmm.
some people, they're very visual. For some people, they're kinesthetic, meaning, touchy-feely. For some
Yeah.
people, they're auditory. It's about hearing. The language that we use, for some people, it's all about inferences. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
reading between the lines. And for some
Yeah.
people, they're very literal. And so there's these different ways that we process information. Now, a lot of people get tripped up on this because in hypnosis, we're talking about visualize, imagine. Well, I just had a client
Hmm.
yesterday. That's what inspired the article. He said, hypnosis works for him, right?
Hmm.
He's getting the results from it, but he's so confused because he can't hold a visual image. And I said,
Yep.
common misconception. Not everyone is visual. Hypnosis works as effective for everyone, no matter your learning style.
Right.
So it really becomes a matter of don't get tripped up over those things. Start to
Hmm.
learn how you experience it. Some
Yeah.
people go in deep, some people go in light. You don't need to be in deep in order to receive the benefits of hypnosis. Some
Right.
suggestions go in almost instantaneously. Others need repetition because we have so many mental barriers to making
Hmm.
certain changes. And that's why they say, on average, you need about 6 sessions in order to have a breakthrough, in order to overcome. I've
Yeah.
seen people that instant, like one session, bam, like Alicia, you would not believe. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's why we did it, right?
Yeah.
And then other people on different subjects, especially the tricky
Yeah.
ones where we have really been playing the role of victim, especially.
Hmm.
We have these attachments to this identity, to this self-image. It
Yeah.
takes a little bit more work around different types of approaches, different types of suggestions, sometimes to start to break down those barriers where you become the person who says, I'm done with this. And
Yeah.
then you're ready for the breakthrough. And then it happens, seemingly instantaneously, but you
Right.
need to get to that point.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the visualization piece. I was literally having this conversation today with my mentor and saying, I'm not somebody who visualizes. Like, I don't see this big, colorful, beautiful vision of my future. but I can feel it. I know
Hmm.
what it feels like. And so, she was recommending that I voice note myself about my future rather than trying to draw a picture. There's so many people that are like, just draw your picture. And I'm like, first of all, I can't draw. Second of all, I don't see it. So how am I going to draw it? Right. So I love that you brought that up and that we all learn differently and to not put expectations on ourselves about, what other people are doing and not compare ourselves to others and how they have their breakthrough. Yeah.
Exactly,
Uh,
exactly. There's so many reasons that we sabotage. We say it's not happening fast enough. I didn't feel like I went in deep enough. And like
mhm.
the crazy thing is, like I said, you can be in hypnosis when you're watching a movie. You're not knocked out unconscious. You're not.
Yeah.
But you in that experience lose all sense of quote quote reality around
Right.
you, and you
Yeah.
are fully and completely entranced. And
Yes.
that's what hypnosis is: heightened focus and deep relaxation. And when you
Mm,
combine those two things, you create a heightened state of suggestibility. So just make sure whatever you're feeding your mind in that
yes.
moment is empowering.
This is why social media works so well. Oh my gosh. Alicia, I feel like I could talk to you about this all day long. I am geeking out on this conversation, but I don't want to spend too much time picking it all apart because I want people to come to you. So, how can people find you if they really resonate with you and they want to learn more about your work?
Easiest way, go to my main website because
Mhm.
there's links to social media, there's links to my YouTube channel, lots of free hypnosis on there.
Yep.
My podcast, which Cindy, you're going to be featured on there soon. It's aliciacramer.com.
Okay.
ALICIACRAMER.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go and find one of those free hypnosis. I'm going to try it myself with a more open mind because I learned a lot today. So thank you so much for sharing that today.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience around hypnosis? Kind of if somebody was just like, I've never tried it before, but I kind of want to explore it, what would you say to them?
I would say I mean, the easiest thing you do, right? You go on YouTube,
Hmm.
find an audio, listen to it first consciously. Make
Mm,
sure
mhm.
you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Then give yourself however much time, whether it's 20 minutes or some of them are like an hour, you find something that works for you, and you
Hmm.
just set aside time. Grab some headphones. Don't do it in the driver's seat of your car, but find a different comfy place where there's a perfectly good positive association with deep relaxation.
Hmm.
And don't overthink it. Don't try, don't fight it, don't overanalyze it. If you don't feel like you're going into a very deep state, that's okay. Let yourself just appreciate that beautiful opportunity for some R&R, and
Yeah.
know that even if you're in a very light state, what we call an alpha state,
Hmm.
even if you're in a very light state, you still are programming your mind with positive suggestions. And you might just find that after you've done that a time or two, you feel safe, and then you can really go deeper. But the one
Right.
other thing that I just want to say as a caveat,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
sometimes you'll be able to go in nice and deep, and there might be times where you're more agitated. You've got a higher stress level, and
Hmm.
you're not honestly giving yourself permission to surrender that.
Mm, yeah.
If you're trying to force yourself to relax, you will
Relax, damn it.
resist.
Relax.
Exactly. Just stop. Just
Yeah.
stop. Because then you're creating a negative association and you're reinforcing the negative belief. See, it doesn't work for me. See, I can't do it. See, I can't relax. See,
Yeah.
this, that, right? And so just
Yeah.
don't. Just
Go fight it.
those would be my suggestions for anyone who is either new to using hypnosis,
Mhm.
or maybe you've had a couple of experiences like you, Cindy,
Yeah.
and you want to give it an
Yeah.
honest next attempt. And then, of course, there's also a lot of incredible practitioners out there. And sometimes when you're working one-on-one with someone, it does feel like you're more accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And that can help put you into a deeper state because then you're
Yeah.
not left to your own mental crap to try to contend with.
Right. Yeah. I love that so much. I just have to add this on. So I used to go to a float tank center and their motto is relax harder. Like, like the thing was like, just relax harder. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Alicia. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Cindy.